Mr. Chairman. Let me say first, I look forward to seeing the science on what caused this cold snap in Texas. I know it's easy to go and say this is a part of climate change, and that may be a contributing factor. But apparently, there was a similar weather pattern in Texas in 1928, which is why one of our earlier folks talked about this happening about once a century in Texas, because apparently it has happened before. So I don't know that we can put all of the cold weather in Texas at the feet of climate change or global warming. Ms. Glover, thank you so much for talking about energy efficiency. I do have some good paying jobs in my district with that, and I'm a coal district, but I do appreciate you highlighting that very much. And some have called for the complete elimination of using our fossil fuels, and I was pleased to hear Chairman Pallone say that while we may shift and transition and lower that number, that he didn't see it being eliminated from part of our mix. And it's interesting because one of my professors, a science researcher at Virginia Tech, working on fossil fuels, has lamented in the past that never before have we eliminated or tried to eliminate a energy source, whether we started with wood, et cetera, with the exception of whale oil. We've never eliminated one. We've reduced it depending on market conditions and improved efficiencies, but we've never eliminated one of our potential energy sources. And I think that's important to keep in mind. Mr. Powell, I appreciate you mentioning that we're trying to make false choices, that you have to choose one or the other. I'm an all of the above kind of guy. I like your concepts of using more innovation. You talked with my colleague, Mr. McKinley, about reducing emissions, and that ought to be at the top of our list and doing the research to reduce that. I would point out that in my district, and they're all over the country, but one in my district, MOVA Technologies, has been working on panel bed filtration systems that not only eliminates CO2, but eliminates, depending on what panel you have and what industry you're dealing with, it eliminates all kinds of other pollutions. It's already out of the test phase and is now in the small test phase. It's now going to the next level. And these are the kinds of things that I think we need to be working on as well. Now, we can invest all the money we want to in research and development and innovation, but if industry is disincentivized to install new technologies, it will be for naught. Last week, I had a meeting with the pulp and paper workers. Challenges associated with new source review permitting program. And we have learned that the NSR often discourages new investments at facilities like paper mills, a furniture factory in my district, other manufacturing plants and power plants. It discourages them from making small bites of the apple. They're told you if you take a small bite, you've got to swallow the whole apple. I have reintroduced the New Source Review Permitting Improvement Act, HR 245, which would reform the program so that we can upgrade U.S. facilities with new pollution control technology, but not having to chant all at one time. Is new source review a barrier to reducing emissions, Mr. Powell?
Yeah, sorry, you froze there for a second, but I think I heard the
Sorry.
question. Thanks so much for the question. Thank you for your leadership on this vital issue for carbon capture technologies and really for all technologies which would help reduce the emissions from existing facilities. It absolutely is a barrier in its current form. I do not think that the original drafters of the Clean Air Act understood this kind of scenario. I think they would have probably framed new source review in a different way. Had they been thinking about things like carbon dioxide emissions at the time. I think reforming that so that we don't have NSR as a barrier, and so that you don't enter an entirely different regulatory regime if you simply bolt one thing onto a facility, which significantly helps reduce the emissions. That actually has the exact opposite of, I think, what folks would have been trying to accomplish with the original new source review revisions. And so I think reforms are urgently needed, and I think your proposal is an excellent step in that direction.
Thank you very much. I mean, look, a lot of times people characterize it as just trying to get rid of the rules. No, what we're trying to do is make the rules so that they can be used effectively. And if you take one bite at the apple every 3 or 4 years, a factory can make its facility a whole lot better. If you have to do the whole thing at one time, they're never going to do it, and it slows down our ability to control emissions. I was pleased to hear, discussion, and I know the intent is good about, being prepared and planning, and this would have been Mr. Pacala, being prepared and planning. I come from an area where there's a lot of coal production and a lot of lost jobs already. But I will tell you that there's a December 6, 2019 New York Times article, which I forwarded to committee staff because I would like to have it introduced into the record. New York Times article talks about a town in years has been spending money trying to reinvent their economy. They've created a law school with some of their money. They've created a pharmaceutical school or a pharmacy school in their community, and they have spent, according to that article, they have spent approximately $170 million over this 20-year period trying to reinvent themselves. Now, there's all kinds of other issues, road access, et cetera, that we're working on. But I will tell you that, give me just 1 second, thank you. But I will tell you, 1 in 6 jobs is still coal-related, and the county is getting hit hard.
Chairman,
I apologize.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize.
it's quite all right. The chair now recognizes Mr. Tucker for 5 minutes.